I'd like to talk tonight about meditation walking. Past couple of weeks, I've had more than 3 students come to me talking about their knees hurting. And there's some discomfort when they're walking in. That's not good. We don't want that to happen. Everything we do here at Bridge Tai Chi, first and foremost, safety. Long term, what we do is important, because if you get hurt or something happens, then there's a break in the training. That's not good. A break in the training, especially early on, could mean that, things could happen and take you away from the progress of doing IST. So, and the part where people are usually coming to me in the question is not so much the hips, not so much the waist, but more so on the knees. Okay? So what happens is that in the beginning, where most people are doing the meditation walking, there's more of a physical expression when they're doing the movements. And that's where the problem begins. They're making too big of a turn, or their alignment is getting not in the correct position, especially where the knees are buckling in. And over time, that's going to cause more stress on the knees, causing the cartilage, the meniscus, whatever is between those knees, it's going to get worse and worse over time. But of course, because we do it slow, the good thing about Tai Chi walking is that it's not done fast, it's not done rapid. So the chance of getting really hurt is probably very slim, because before something happens, and you talk to me, or you try to figure out what's happening. So let's look at a few things that can cause the knees to kind of go in the wrong direction or something happening. First, you don't want to go that low. We're not in our 20s no more. We're not in our 30s for most of us. And as a result, going too low is going to put too much strain on the knees. So you don't want to go low. The second thing that you also want to remind yourself is that when you're doing the walking, don't over-rotate. I've talked about when you're doing the walking, you want to do a small V, the letter V, okay? If you do a wide V, the chances of overextending or twisting to some degree is going to get to your knees sooner or later, okay? So number one, you don't want to go low. Number two, you don't want to over-rotate. Okay, over-rotate will take you off of your alignment, and your knees and everything is not properly aligned. Now you have leaking energy, and more strain will go on your knees. So you want to do a small V. Okay? The third thing to remember is that you want to feel the energy flow. You may not feel it right away, but that needs to be part of the seed planted early on. Why is the energy flow very important? Because when the energy flow is happening during the walking, now you become more and more song, tong, hong. Hong, empty, very important. When you're empty and when you're doing these rotations, what happens to your knees? It becomes a conductor. It becomes like a hinge where energy goes through now. It doesn't become part of how you're moving physically if energy stays at your knees. Now you're using too much knee action. So the energy flows is when I talk about Yi Dao, Qi Dao, Qi Dao, Jing Dao. Now the Qi becomes moving throughout the body. As a result, when it's constantly moving, the chances of it staying at your knees becomes more and more slim. So as a result right now, not only are you not going too low, which you don't want to do, you're not over rotating, which you don't want to do. Additionally, now it's the energy that's helping you to rotate back and forth and sinking. As a result, not only your knee joints, all the joints in your body become more empty and sewn. So as a result, everything is flowing. And then the knees won't take too much strain and over stress when you're moving in those light. Okay? So the three things are don't go too low, don't over rotate, let the energy flow. When that happens, when the energy flows and you feel it moving up and down, that essentially also means that your alignment is correct. Okay? When your alignment is correct, it's very difficult for your knees to get overly taxed and too much energy getting stuck there because you're not over rotating. Everything is moving in a good, constant sinking. And when you're doing that, the chances of you hurting your knees is very slim. Okay? So, hope that helps. And with the walking, which is one of my favorites, I like it quite a bit because when you're doing the meditation walking, it's like you're doing the Tai Chi form already. You're doing something that is repetitive, but you're not doing the movements really. You're doing the principles within the meditation walking. So when I'm doing the meditation walking, I feel a lot of those principles already. So I see Lenny looking at me right now, because everybody's looking at me. So the acronym for meditation walking, do you remember?
Tina had it down like this. It says sinking, alignment, balance, energy, and rooting, or SABRE.
Yes, very good. I think you're ahead of the game now. You know I'm going to sometimes ask people, so very good.
Very
good.
Good job.
Good job. So, again, SABRE is not only just for meditation walking, it actually belongs to almost everything we do. But at least it gives you a good foundation to focus on those 5 letters that represents the different principles. And when you're walking, of course, you don't think of all of them. You may just think of one and work on that. If you just work on sinking alone, it's going to affect the other ones eventually anyway. And then eventually, when you walk, sinking, your alignment, your internal balance, your energy flow, your is going to happen anyway. So every just as one is more than the other. They all are the puzzle to feel that experience of how it's done internally. Okay, so SABRE. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we talked about the safety of meditation walking. Okay, the 3 things that I mentioned. Can anybody tell me what they are? Anybody is fine.
One is a small V, not a wide.
Okay, so who's talking now?
T.
Oh, AT. Okay, so the it could be any random order. So first one is not to make over rotation, right?
Yeah.
Stay in a V.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the other 2?
What's the other one?
Okay, you're
Oh, the
33%
knees,
on
not
your way.
bending not going too low with the knees.
Yes, don't go too low. Don't go too
Yes.
low. We're not doing performing Tai Chi. We're not, trying to do something to that extreme. Even people that are very young doing it, that's not good too. But it's just on how they're learning it and who's presenting it to them. You don't want to go that low. We want our knees to last for a lifetime. Okay, so don't go too low. Don't over rotate. And what's the third one?
That's a good question. What is the third one?
Okay, Sal is smiling, so Sal's going to help you. Okay, you remember Sal?
I need help.
Yes, let their energy flow. Let the energy
flow.
Energy flow.
Yeah. So as you become more song and you 静下来, the mind is clear, you're going to start to feel the energy internally move. And when the energy moves, now how you rotate, energy doesn't get stuck on any part of the body. So the chances of hurting the joints become less and less because now the energy is guiding your movements. That's what you want. Okay? So those three, not just only for meditation walking, when you're doing the Tai Chi form, the set, it also applies too. You don't go that low, you don't over rotate, and you especially let the energy guide the movements. When that happens, you'll start to make the progress in the internal space. Okay?
Wayne, there's
So-
an extra one. We talked
Please.
about it in class. We did. Because I
Okay.
had brought up the topic of knees. And one is that we don't turn our leg to the side when we have our weight on it. Remember we talked about this? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So this is a fourth one, and thanks for bringing it up. Actually, there's probably more than four, but at least these are the things that you can have for entry level. So I think by the time next week comes along, I'll come up with another one, and then there'll be more that we can add. So one thing that you also don't want to do, and thanks for bringing that up, Mary, to my attention, is that make sure that when you sink to one leg, and then you deliver the other leg out, before you move the other leg, make sure it's empty. Because if you turn and rotate with energy on one leg, now you're putting stress. Okay? You're putting stress on that knees especially. So in class, we talked about it where, when you're doing the form, it's the same thing. You don't want to go from one transition to another with the weight still on one leg. It seems obvious, but a lot of times when we are just simply shifting, we're not sinking, then the leg that has weight, we're going to pivot. When we pivot with too much energy on the leg, it's also going to put strain on the knees as well. Okay? So those are four things to put down and jot down. Okay? So if anybody want to put that in the WhatsApp group to share with all the other classmates, you guys are more than welcome. Okay? And again, knees are very fragile. Even within the arm bridge Tai Chi family, we have 4 people already that have knee problems. Very serious. It wasn't because of this class, it's because of previous practices and what they did when they were much younger and just different things that we take for granted, and then we realize that we put too much strain on the joints of the body, not just the knees, but all the joints. But because the knees are used every day due to walking, and if we engage in certain activities, we're not careful, then we have a greater chance of knee problems much later on. So I assume that everybody in this class I see regularly are doing probably pretty good on their knees, but need to be very mindful of the knees and how to take care of it. what we mentioned is just 4. There are probably more things that we'll come up with, and we'll share those as we go. But those 4 are very fundamental, very entry level, to you could immediately put into your practice. Because if you do that over time, you're not going to have to think about those 4. It's going to be part of how you do the movements, whether stillness or in dynamic movement. And, what we see a lot online, what we see a lot in person, it may look very strong, very flashy, and it looks like, wow, they go so low, they jump so high. But what you don't see are the people that are already in trouble. They're not going to put themselves on YouTube because their knees are already bad already. Those are the ones you don't hear about. And then they'll give you the warning signals and the information and awareness beforehand. So whenever you engage in any practice, the safety concerns are very important. Very important. That's why even in this class, whether on Zoom or in person, I've always said, if you need to take a break, take a break. If you need to adjust to the movement, make that adjustment. You don't have to go that low. You can do less. The key is you come and you work within the progress of doing more over time. Okay, that's very, very important. Okay, well, thanks for bringing that 4th one up, Mary. Okay, so we